white sheep, and that's what you're sampling this afternoon. This is part of the rump, but it's the Australian white is a particular breed that's been made in Australia. Like, it's a composite breed of 4 other breeds, and some people down at Oberon put it together, and it's a wonderful achievement what they've done. They've put a couple of South African breeds, the Texel and the Van Roy, together with the Dorper and the Pole Dorset, and what you end up with is a big, robust animal that's got hair rather than wool. So they call them a shedding breed, and so they just drop their fleece everywhere in the paddock, and they seem to walk up and down the fences and rub it against the fences, and they're an easy care sheep because of that, because they don't get fly blown or any of those other issues that merinos and other breeds get. Like, you don't have to dock them or shear them or crutch them or mules them or any of those things. You just treat them like a little cow. But unlike a cow, they're very fertile. They're very so you can breed them twice a year, and they often do twins or triplets, so it's not unusual for a ewe to have 4 lambs a year, and it's and particularly if you feed them well, and that's what we're into nutrition and feeding the ewes as well as we can, and then feeding the lambs as well as we can. So while I'm on the subject of feeding, and it's particular to this the lamb that you're sampling today, this is grass-fed lamb, so we don't feed grains at all to them, but we graze the lambs through the paddocks, and we've got a lot. We spent a lot of money on fencing and paddocks, so we've got water in each paddock, and we rotate them around, and that allows the lambs and the ewes to select their own diet. So they'll eat like our logo there's got the clover leaf in it. We love legumes, so we're always trying to plant legumes. But so the lambs will select the high protein from that, and then they'll select various other herbages, and they're chasing minerals. And I've got a mate that refers to them as a shoat. So like a cross between a sheep and a goat, and they are a little bit like that, because you'll see them nibbling on trees and all sorts of things, and you'll wonder why they're doing it, but they're obviously just balancing their own ration, and goats are really good at fossicking and sourcing what they need, what you're eating is a combination of those really good genetics to get that big muscle, eye muscle area and all that, and plus the nutrition, and that's why we won the silver at the Sydney Royal, was because of the combination. I'm not sure why we didn't get gold, but
the feedback should have told you.
Yes, that's right. I should read.
You should read the feedback. That's the whole point, and that's what we do it for, so that you'll get better. I just want to hop in and explain something. So, why you spend a lot of money on fencing and stuff is they do what's called cell grazing. So the sheep will be here for 2 weeks, and then they'll be here for 2 weeks, and then up there for 2 weeks, and then there for 2 weeks. And that gives the pasture an opportunity to recover, a much more natural way for it to recover, and so they don't eat it right down to the bare earth. It also means that they become very docile, because they're used to humans coming and handling them and moving them, and they know that what humans do is good for them, because you move them somewhere with even more lush pasture to eat. So, and also a happy animal, they wouldn't have babies if they weren't happy and if they weren't well fed. But the other thing too is that therefore they make good eating meat, because if we're stressed, we tense up if we're stressed. Exactly the same with animals. So you end up with a really happy animal who's really easy to eat.
That's right, Lyndey. And where we are farming, we're in the Border Rivers region of southern Queensland, and like our stocking rate there is like a sheep per hectare. So it's nothing. They've got so much room to, and that helps with the worm burden and all that sort of thing, that we're not that very intensive that you get on a lot of other small farms, but So we do that, and we're just always thinking about tomorrow, and that's what the name Manana means. What we're going to be feeding them next season, and yeah.
But let's talk about the actual meat. I'm actually said something really interesting last time, which is that because the sheep have hair that just sheds, they're not putting energy into growing wool. So they're putting all of their energy into being really healthy, fantastic sheep. Now, what I really like about it is that this particular breed that's now been created from 4 other breeds has actually a lower fat content, but what's interesting is that it melts at a low temperature, so it melts at a little over our blood temperature. Now, it doesn't have huge subcutaneous fat, and I just know this because I've been experimenting with, we met for the first time today, but I've been experimenting with this because I've been cooking for over 40 years, yeah. And what's interesting, you don't need to blast it, and you can cook it, and what happens is that fat melts beautifully as it cooks and bastes the lamb and keeps it really juicy and moist. And for someone who's interested in food and in eating, that to me is fantastic. But also, do you notice there's no lamb smell? And also there's no lamb, you don't have that lamb fat taste in your mouth, and that's because of this particular breed. Because that lanolin smell comes from the wool. If you've touched wool, you know that it's got that. So I find that absolutely fascinating. When I got some. It's done pretty well for all day. When I got to play with it, in the kitchen, that's when I realised I could actually cook it differently. And it's just such a good product. And the other thing too is it's allowed to roam free, as you just heard. 1 sheep per hectare. Is great. If you go to the Northern Territory, the cattle they have a lot more hectares for one because it's so dry. But grass feeding, I was a master pallet of beef, and we used to do all this beef judging, and grass fed always came out on top for flavour. Always. So, and the other thing too about grass fed, and I know there's no vegans here because you've come to a meat session, and this is what I love to tell the vegetarians as well, grass fed animals give off much less methane gas than grain fed because they're eating what nature intended them to eat. Okay, they're very happy eating it. So that for me, I like it from a flavour point of view, but also I feel from a environmental and moral point of view, that's the case as well. So have you enjoyed that meat? Yeah, it's lovely, isn't it? So tell us.
Lyndey's been cranky at me all day because I've been preparing too early, and I didn't want the stress of everyone waiting for it, but it ends up coming out here cold, but it's quite fine cold, like it's because it's these Australian white sheep, but if it were, if it was what other people serve up, with a bit of merino and stuff in it, well, you wouldn't, you'd be all looking for a glass of wine or something.
Is there anyone here from Queensland? No. Okay, so tell us, just make a note of the name, Manana Pastoral, and make sure you follow them on their website as well, because they're looking to have distribution in New South Wales. But tell us where we can buy. Whoever goes to Queensland? Okay, so tell us where we can buy your product.
So we're in the Market Organic stores at the moment. They're a chain of stores. There's about 10 of them, and they're all around Brisbane and down the Gold Coast. And we'll be looking to go into the same kind of stores in Sydney, like good quality IGAs and perhaps Harris Farms and some of those other organic type stores, because we're certified grass-fed with the lambs, and with the cattle, we've got Aberdeen Angus cattle as well, and they are certified organic, so it'll fit well into those type stores. And most people, well, we used to own Barambra Organics, or 100% of it, but we found that with Barambra Organics, as long as we produced good quality, it wasn't just the people that liked organic that ate it. It was just everyone that enjoyed good quality food was eating it, and that's and that'll be the same with this. So yeah, thanks very much, everyone.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. You know, if it tastes good, and that's the thing with all of our fine food competitions. You know, ultimately it's food, and it needs to taste good. You know, it really, really does. And there's a score for taste. I'll tell you, I was involved with another competition many years ago, and I was arguing that they needed to put more of a score in for taste. And this guy actually said to me, he said, "Oh yeah, that's good." He said, "We once had this ice cream and it had a really, really good score on everything, but then we tasted it. It didn't taste very good." Well, it's food. Food's first responsibility is to taste good, you know, and hopefully be good for you too. And I just want to say, you know, your grass-fed beef got silver at 86.67. I'd be happy if I got 86.67, you know, and the lamb got more, 86.83. So go and read your comments, because, mind you, your wife also said that you got the second highest meat score in the competition, whatever that means.
I'll have to read it, Lyndey.
Oh, okay, hang on. Just one moment, we've got a minute more. I'm getting more steps, you see. We do lots of steps when we're at the Easter show. Here we go. Yeah, it was, yeah.
It was just in the grass-fed beef section that we got the second highest grass-fed beef, so which we're excited about.
I'd be very excited about it. That's amazing. That's fantastic. So now, if you've been, sorry?
There's a really large cattle company in Australia called Hewitt. You may have seen it on Landline or one of those kind of shows. And the younger Hewitt brother came across us at the New Farm markets, and his friend was nudging him. They'd just been on a large run, and his friend said, "Oh, ask these guys what they're about and what they're selling at the markets." And I said, "Oh yes, we're the second highest grass-fed beef score." And this Hewitt, who owns half of Australia, it's also subsidised by a Canadian pension fund, said, "Well, tell Ian that the Hewitt boys say hello." So it was a bit of a Yellowstone reference, if anyone's ever watched that series.
Actually, and that's brought up a really good point. To be entered in any of the Sydney Royal competitions, the product must be all Australian. There's one exception. If perhaps you need some spices that don't grow in Australia to put into something, that's okay, but if they don't grow in Australia, but you can only have up to 15% of that. So when you're buying a Sydney Royal product, you know you're buying Australian. So we've got two small family companies here. We've got the farmers and the producers, and I just love the science that's gone into the genetics of breeding the sheep, but then feeding them in a really natural way, almost like an old-fashioned natural way. And then we've got the value adder, who uses fabulous raw produce to create something else to make us look like stars. Because I would very happily cook any of that and pretend I'd made it. Well, I would. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? You know? That's why, just because you're smart enough to know where to buy it. And I can tell you where to buy it. If you want to just go around the corner, show special, buy two, get a third free. I'm going there next, I can tell you. And if you do want the ravioli, you could buy it and come back before 7:30 and you'll be able to pick it up then. So it can stay in the freezer, okay? So that's all fantastic. But if you've enjoyed this, you might enjoy our Great Grain and Graze Festival on the 21st of September. That's after the wine show. There's 2,000 bottles of wine. You're not going to drink them all, but you can taste, and we have Sydney Royal producers there as well, and that's an absolutely fantastic day. So just remember, when you see one of these medals on a product, It's your guarantee of excellence, and you know it's going to taste good, and you know it's Australian, and you know you're helping Australian agriculture. So please put your hands together for our presenters and their amazing produce. And thanks very much, and tell all your friends. Tomorrow we have the aquaculture judging here, but then we're here every day until the show with 2 different producers each day. Thanks very much. And